One thing scripture that hung me up when I was a kid is the idea of the Pharaoh of Egypt having his heart hardened by God. And that God hardened his heart so that he couldn't see the truth of what was being revealed. And I'm curious why, in your opinion, God would step in to, I guess, orient him in a way that was against what God wanted.
Yeah, why doesn't he get the same forgiveness?
These verses about God hardening Pharaoh's heart trouble a lot of people, including some Christians. My buddy Wes Huff put on a 3-hour masterclass in fielding these kinds of difficult questions. What I want to do here is add to some of the things that he brought up. Exodus 4-14 includes 19 references to Pharaoh's heart being hardened, while 3 refer to Pharaoh hardening his own heart, and 6 simply say that Pharaoh's heart was hardened with no clear source of the hardening. 10 references explicitly say that God is the one doing the hardening. For example, Exodus 4:21 says that God will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will not let the people go. Read in isolation, this sounds like it's God, not Pharaoh, who's really responsible for not letting the Israelites go. Now, how can that be fair to Pharaoh? Let me offer 3 thoughts to help better understand what's going on here. First, to help better understand these verses, we need to look at the broader context. Before Moses ever goes back to Egypt, God tells him what's going to happen. Speaking out of the burning bush, God says, "But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless compelled by a mighty hand." This is Exodus 3:19, and I think it's key to understanding what follows. Pharaoh is not going to let Israel go unless God compels him by force. That's because Pharaoh's heart is already in a state of rebellion long before meeting Moses. He isn't an innocent bystander. His heart isn't neutral. In fact, Pharaoh thinks of himself as a god, the incarnation of Horus. So Pharaoh's not going to listen to a bunch of Hebrew slaves or their God. Second, the account of Pharaoh and the Exodus has a greater purpose. While reading this account recently, I kept asking myself, does God want Pharaoh to let the Israelites go or not? If he does, why does he keep hardening Pharaoh's heart? The tension isn't resolved unless you understand God's greater purpose in these events. God isn't merely freeing the Israelites from slavery. God isn't merely judging Egypt for their wickedness. Now, he's doing both of those things, but there's something else going on. In Exodus 5:2, we see Pharaoh arrogantly ask, "Who is Yahweh that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I do not know Yahweh." What follows is Yahweh's decisive response to these questions. In Exodus chapter 9, Yahweh tells Pharaoh straight up, "But for this purpose I raised you up to show you my power so that my name may be proclaimed in all the earth." In other words, God's saying, when I'm done with you, Pharaoh, not only are you going to know who I am, the whole world is going to know my name. In his article titled "Divine Hardening and the Old Testament scholar Robert Chisholm writes this: "Prolonging the series of judgments by hardening Pharaoh's heart would allow Yahweh to accomplish this larger purpose. Though Israel's deliverance might be slightly delayed, Yahweh's reputation would be greatly enhanced." So by prolonging Egypt's judgment, Yahweh displays his power for all to see. And it worked. Rahab, living in Jericho 40 years later, is still talking about these events. And here we are, making videos about it in 2025. Third, the takeaway shouldn't be poor Pharaoh. The takeaway should be, don't be like Pharaoh. Pharaoh resisted God and deserved God's judgment before God ever hardened his heart. This resisting isn't just a Pharaoh problem, it's a human problem. Here's my question to you. Are you resisting God and hardening your heart toward him? Jesus was constantly warning people about this very thing. If that's you, go to God, ask for forgiveness, and ask him to give you a new heart.